Hi everyone! Another video. I just felt like it because I had this uh, amazing wow moment just now. I already did a video yesterday about me being so intuitive and having all these coincidences at the moment around the full moon. And well, today I had another one just now. It's just like, what's going on? It's like, wow, it's just wonderful. So I thought, well, I'm going to do another video. I just want to share it. Hopefully, yes, please move on. A tractor. Of late, I have felt like going back to my pagan roots. About when I first started on my spiritual path, I'll briefly tell you. Right, when I first started out, it was around 2004, I think, 2003. I began with intuitive development, and that brought me an awful lot, allowed me to let go of an awful lot. I learned to ground and to then let go, right? And to shield myself, to feel energies. And I then discovered how incredibly intuitive I was. I was never really aware of that. I've been busy with that for 2 years, I think, and it brought me an awful lot. And then I felt I wanted something else, and then I became an apprentice of an English hedge witch. That is a witch who, well, she rides the hedge, so she's got one foot in the well, let's say the spiritual realms and another foot in the just 3D world. And so she's in between that, and she can be basically just be a conduit of, in between. And I did that for almost 2 years as well. At the time, I also had a web shop. I was selling mostly things for Wiccans, for witchcraft and Wiccans. So it was a Wicca web shop and some New Age things as well. I was not a Wiccan. I was, just different. Is Wicca usually is in like in a coven, a school, and a group, right? And I'm not into groups. I'm a solitary person. I like to work by myself. I just don't like to follow other people's rules and regulations. I've had someone at the time who was in a Wicca coven, and she was not allowed. She saw a pendant that I sold in my shop, and she loved it. She absolutely loved it, and she wanted to have it, but her coven did not allow her to wear symbols unless they approved of it. And for me, it's like, well, sorry, but fuck that. If I want to wear something, I'm going to wear it. I don't need anyone else to tell me what to do and what not to do and what's right. And, well, that's just me. I just can't stand that. And that's why I never did any fixed method either when it comes to healing or reading, like, for instance, Reiki, or it just doesn't work for me. I just learn from, I've had many different teachers, a variety, like intuitive teachers, intuitive development teachers. I've studied psychology, mostly Jung-based psychology. I've studied energy work, shamanism, witchcraft, etc., etc. I take from it what resonates with me, and the rest I just dump. So I have my own unique mix of what I offer, and I just don't like fixed methods. I did one once, that was the universal white time healing. Same problem as with Reiki. It doesn't work for me. Then you had to use these symbols with your hands, make symbols in the air, and have these things that you then say when you make these symbols, and it just doesn't feel right. It's just not me. So I have my own unique mix. Anyhow, I did the intuitive development, and I went to shamanism, the witchcraft then, right? That's also shamanism. And then after that, after 2 years, I began to discover, feel, sense that actually witchcraft was not complete. The way it is presented these days is not complete. It's missing something, and I couldn't quite put my finger on it, but it didn't feel right anymore. So I knew it was time to move on. Then I got into energy work on a really high level, and I began to work with archangels and crystals and cosmic rays, and yeah, completely different yet again. And in the end, well, I ended up with all these, yeah, quite a unique mix, I think, of things. But I didn't do anything much with my pagan roots anymore. Now, of late, I feel drawn to go back to these roots, not really completely get into witchcraft again, but to do more with it again. And then last year I bought no, actually it was a gift from my friend, the Greenwich Tarot, which is also very, yeah, paganistic, right? I'm a sucker for Celtic stuff as well. And I really am. I really am. I love the Celtic stuff. I actually contemplated doing a university study on that, but for practical reasons it wasn't possible at the time. It was a very new study at the time, in 2006 I think, where you studied the ancient Celtic languages, and then you had to also translate Celtic things, because that's new. There's very few people at that time who could do that, and there were still so many things in the world, Celtic things, that had not been translated and studied yet. That's why they came up with that university study. It was done in Utrecht in Holland and in the UK, and that was the only places in the world that was given. It was brand new. And I so wanted to do that. I felt so drawn to it, but I just couldn't for practical reasons, because it meant I had to leave my kids behind where I was living at the time, and then move into another place in Utrecht during the week, and that just wasn't possible. So I never did that. But anyhow, I'm digressing. I'm really good at that. Back to that, feeling drawn to doing more with the paganism again. And then all of a sudden the other day, just a few weeks ago I think, I felt drawn to Elen of the Ways. I have no idea why that came up. Elen of the Ways is a British, well actually probably pre-British even, deity, goddess, not really a goddess I don't think, more like a, well let's say a deity. And well, she's of the ways, right? So she's connected to the ways, to tracks, and to deer as well, reindeer in particular. And I came across her. I'm not entirely certain. I think about 10 years ago, when I was reading Marion Zimmer Bradley's Priestess of Avalon, I think it was. One of the books in the series of Avalon, the Mists of Avalon, is in there too. I think it was the Priestess of Avalon. And we also have a similar type of goddess, pre-Christian, pre-Roman goddess here in Holland. And she's called Nehalenia. And she's similar to Elen of the Ways. It's also that a goddess where people used to go before they had to journey towards wherever with boats at the time, because I live near the ocean here. And before they had to, leave to have a safe journey, but also a safe homecoming. And they rebuilt one of these temples, a replica of that, on the other island. There's all these islands here in peninsulas where I live, and on the other island there is a replica of the temple. So I sometimes go there, I sometimes really go there, and I also make an offering, albeit tobacco or an apple or whatever. But Elen of the Ways is similar to that, apparently. And suddenly I felt drawn to her again, and I thought, I want to know more about this deity goddess. I want to know more. And there are a few books on it, but none of these books really gave me the wisdom, the information, what I needed. And now, because I want to go deeper back into my pagan roots, yeah, this seems like a bit of a wishy-washy, woolly story, but I'm getting to a point here, okay? Like I said, I was using the Greenwich Tarot, and then the other day, what's it called now? Can't remember now. The Wildwood Tarot started to appeal to me. I keep seeing that online, and in a way, I don't like it. And it's like, nah, it's got these kings and queens, they are animals and birds, and it's like, nah, a heron for the King of Cups, and it doesn't work for me. And so I decided, nah, it's not for me. That deck is just not for me. But it kept calling, and I kept looking at it, and I couldn't let go of it, and so I ordered it in the end. It took me about 2 months, I think, but I did order it in the end. And today it came in just about 2 hours ago, I think. And I went through the cards. The reason I bought it is because I felt it was actually an almost like an advanced version of the Greenwich Tarot. The Greenwich can take you deep. It's completely different in a way from the many cards are from the default tarot, and it's far more paganistic, Greenwich, right? But I felt that the Wildwood Tarot would be far deeper and would allow me to indeed go deeper and to get more in touch, connected with my pagan roots. And that's what I want so much at the time. And so I went through these cards, and I actually really felt that. I really do feel that. It does do that. And the only thing I've read so far, because there's a wonderful book with the deck, not just one of these little small booklets. This is really like, look at that, it's a big book, right? A proper book with a lot of information before it gives you the interpretations of the cards as well. And then there is this one card that actually, it's on the cover of the book and the box as well. Let's see if I can find it quickly. I don't want to show it to you. Number 5. They still should be sort of, yes, they are still sorted. I haven't shuffled the deck yet. There's this card. And somehow it just grates on me. I just somehow just don't like it. And yet again, it was one of the reasons I bought this deck. It's really weird. I have that with this deck with quite a lot of the cards in there. It's like, yuck, I don't like it. And yeah, I do. It's just like, yeah, it triggers me one way or another in a way that no other deck has ever done. And then I thought just now, okay, I'm not going to read any of the cards in the book, the interpretations from the book just yet. Just want to do reading and just do my own interpretations, what I get from it before I start reading. But I did want to read this card because it rattles my cage. And lo and behold, one of the key words that comes with this card is Elen of the Ways. And I was like, duh? Okay, there we go again. Yet another coincidence, synchronicity. I'm getting that so much at the time. At this moment, it's unreal. And then I thought, yeah, of course, how could I not think of that? Elen of the Ways is connected with deer and reindeer in particular. And I never really got why, because I couldn't find the information. There's so little information on Elen of the Ways. It's more like you have to sort of feel your way through it yourself or whatever, or read a gazillion books on well, there aren't even a gazillion books on the subject, but the books that are out there on the subject that also give you a lot of shit that you don't need to know, only to get to these tiny little bits of these nuggets of precious information and wisdom that you do want. Well, I don't want to read all these books. I want these nuggets. And now, what this card, the description of this card is like, Now I find it finally clicks the why she is connected to the deer and the ways. It's got to do with the ways. I'll read it out to you just in case you're interested in. Well, I suppose otherwise you wouldn't be watching this. Um, hang about. It's well way back in time, right? The antlered figure of the ancestor is clad in reindeer skins and evergreen leaves, and stands at the gateway to the wildwood, framed by silver birch trees. And these trees grew during the Ice Age, which I also find interesting. I didn't know that at all, and are one of the first to regenerate in the spring. The reindeer once roamed vast tracts of forests, the true ancestors of our post-Ice Age oak woodlands, and it is known that they used the same trackways through the landscape. And there you have it, the trackways, the tracks, and that's what they keep going on about with Ellen of the Ways. And I never really got, because I didn't know deer did that they followed the same tracks, or the reindeer at least. I didn't know that. You know, then why doesn't someone just post that online when they are opening a website or a blog about Ellen of the Ways? You know, why does it have to be so bloody difficult? Just that, you know, these two sentences, and that just sums it up basically. Yeah. And also that in the Ice Age, the hunters would follow the path of these reindeer year upon year, hunting their major source of food, the reindeer, right? And marking their time, or marking time by the reindeer's regular and predictable migration. So, yeah, that explains an awful lot to me, right? Now I finally know why Ellen of the Ways is connected to these freaking reindeers. And Ellen of the Ways basically is about really going really deep, deep, deep inside of you. And she's also said to be the guardian of the ley lines. And although I do take that to be true, to me, in a way, it feels a bit odd. Because if I intuit, then I feel that Ellen of the Ways actually is older than the ley lines. The ley lines were made in by the Atlanteans. And I feel, in a way, that Ellen of the Ways, well, first of all, she's a completely different energy. She's completely different. She's natural, far more natural than the ley lines, you know, in that sense. And but I also feel she's older. She's older. She really is older than the ley lines. Her energy. So maybe that after the ley lines were created, she did indeed also use the ley lines for her energy. But yeah, for me, it's these pathways of the deer, of the reindeer, makes more sense in that way than the ley lines. Also because ley lines it's just too straightforward. They are straightforward, right? Ley lines are straightforward, and mostly, although many have been interrupted, I think because of us, of what we've done, and you know the way we build, and I don't know, the energy shit we disrupt all over the place. The tracks of the reindeer likely are still quite natural, and I feel that Ellen of the Ways is far more like that as well. She's far wilder, far more unpredictable in a way, predictably unpredictable. And ley lines aren't. They aren't. They're straight. They're straight. The old Roman roads used to be built on ley lines as well, and the roads to graveyards and to churches, and yeah, that they're usually just straight. They're just straight, and I don't feel that Ellen of the Ways isn't straight. I've actually made my own goddess cards, nothing fancy, just these tiny little cutouts with goddess names on them, and I use, one of them has Elen of the Ways, because I feel so intrigued by that energy. And she is quite elusive. She will also not show or reveal herself to you unless you are ready for it. She really is deep, 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 going deep into the forest. And what they, in this book, they go that deep as well. They use this wheel of the year in the beginning of the book. The wheel of the year, and then this is the heart of the forest, which is your deepest, you know, well, like your shadow side, I suppose. And then here is your inner human level, the light grey, and the circle around it is the outer conscious level. So more like also what you show to the outside world. And then the major arcana cards are sorted around that wheel of the year. From and there is a story behind it. Like usually every there is this story of the major arcana that starts with the Fool and ends with the what is it? Judgment. Yeah, the world card. The 21st card, the world card. And they done a similar thing with this tarot deck, but it's different because they follow that circle, they follow that cycle. So it actually starts at in February at Imog, I believe, and the journey. Yeah, at February 1st, that's where it starts. But that's not the Fool. That's not a Fool card. Actually, in actual fact, it starts here with that card. And I just read it. I read through that story, and it was like, wow, that is deep. That is really deep. I think it's going to take me quite some time to get the hang of this deck. Of course, you can read it and remain on a more superficial level, but if I want to get really deep with this, I think I'm going to need a bit of time to get the hang of that, because it is really completely different. Really completely different. Some cards that are, let's say, depressing or negative in default tarot, in this tarot deck can be positive, and vice versa. It's different. It's really different. So I'm gonna have to kind of study it and have fun with it. And what I also like, that's what I wanted to show you or tell you. It says something further on. Hang about. Let me get back to that. I'll show you a few more cards as well from the deck if you're interested in that. This really, I feel, and I've heard that and read that online from many people as well, that the last few months, well, I think it's safe to say this year especially. This is also an 11 year, right? Yeah, a 2 year, 11 year. So it's a master number. It's about great, deep transitions and transformation and new beginnings, and yeah. And I myself also feel that is going on for me, that I'm going through a major change in life, and I'm also trying to go into a completely different direction with my life. And then it comes up here, the gateway formed by the silver birch trees on either side of the path marks the beginning of a new commitment, and a point from which you cannot turn back. And that's how I feel as well. You know, it's this year we started that journey, and it is indeed, here you can see these trees. And it is indeed as if you're starting something new. And once you start on that pathway, that new pathway, there is no going back. It's kind of logical, you know, because it's like, for instance, it's like learning something. You cannot unlearn it. You cannot undo that. There's no going back. Once you've learned, for instance, once you've learned to read, there's no going back. You cannot decide one day I want to lose that ability. I do not wish to read anymore. You can't. In that sense, it's similar when you are growing and learning, evolving, expanding, and once you set foot on that path, there is no turning back. There is no turning back. And I think that's why a lot of people also are afraid to start that journey, subconsciously mostly. There are people like that, right? I'm quite sure you'll know people like that too, who are resistant, who maybe even knock all this stuff, the spiritual stuff, the energy work, etc., etc. But usually I think that's just because they're afraid, because they sense that they actually should do that too, and that is good, but they are afraid to step over that threshold. Because it is true, once you set foot on that path, there is no turning back. There is no turning back. You can maybe stand still, but then you still have learned something already, and you still cannot undo that, go back. In a way, you can only just go on and keep growing and learning and deal with all the shit that's being thrown at you when we have these full moons and portal activations, etc., etc. There's just no stopping it. There's no turning back. So it really is what that says. Marks the beginning of a new commitment and a point from which you cannot turn back. The trees act as a reminder to follow the path and know you are on a journey with a beginning and an end. The path is marked with the tracks that lead you onward. Again, the tracks, the reindeer tracks, but I suppose you can also see that as intuitive signals and signs that you get from spirit, from universe, cosmos. And they lead you onward. The new moon signifies both an end and a beginning, as Venus, the bright morning star, shows the new dawn of hope. The ancestor is linked to the part of our soul that is most ancient and most closely related to the archetypes that represent nature. She is a guardian of the sacred heart of the lands and summons you by beating the drum to the heartbeat of the earth. And that, I got good flesh when I read that. She is the guardian of the sacred heart of the land, and she summons you by beating the drum to the heartbeat of the earth. It is the part of you that unconsciously heard the drum and stirred the first desire to walk the path that is at work here. It is the overpowering strength and patience of nature. It's just like, and then I thought, drums? Wow. So I'll show you. Here's my drum. My Shaymin Drum. I also do sound healing, shamanic sound healing. I have an ocean drum and a wind roarer. I hate that word. It's difficult for me to pronounce. I've got my Shaymin Drum that I made myself with help. I must admit that, because I couldn't do this myself. I didn't have the strength to just pull them tight enough, to get the skin tight. So I had help with that. I couldn't do that myself, but I did sand this. I chose this wood. It's ivy. I chose that myself, and I sanded it and polished it, etc., etc. I also prepped this skin. It's just cow hide. I just prepped that myself as well, and I also made this myself. I can't remember what wood this was. Can't remember now. I suppose pine. I made that as well. Completely made it myself, handmade. All in one day. I didn't have to do the shaving of the skin, etc. That was obviously done, right? So I did it in one day with help with the ropes. I just couldn't do that myself. And it's just, let's see if I can get some not certain how that is going to be recorded. How the microphone reacts to. Yeah, so This is my my Shaymin Drum. And I love the ocean drum as well, actually. I love that. It's water, right? Emotions, water. You recreate, basically, you make the sound of waves and trickling water, etc., etc., depending on how fast you move that drum around. I'm not going to do that because I think it's too loud for the microphone of the telephone. It will probably just freak out. And yeah, so hang on, I'll just show you a few cards of the Wildwood Tarot in case you're interested in it. And let's see, what I do like a lot is that it has a green woman. Now that is unusual, or what? I didn't even know there was such a thing as a green woman, to be honest, in spite of my pagan roots and stuff, and a green man. So we have a green woman and a green man. And well, most of the cards you can find online. Oops. Now this was also interesting because I'd seen that online as well. It's the Ace of Arrows, basically the Ace of Swords. But I could never really work out what that was supposed to be. Apparently it's the head of the horse of, what is it now? Uffington? Of Uffington. I'm not certain now. Quick look. Let me have a quick, very, very quick look. It's now I want to know. Arrows, right? Yes, arrows. Stones, vessels, bows. Of course, you always start at the wrong end. There we go. Page. The Ace. Uffington. Yes. Uffington White Horse. It's the head of the Uffington White Horse. And this is its mouth, where the smoke comes out, and this is the eye of it. I didn't know that. But there was a few cards in there that I'd never seen before. The Nine of Stones, Nine of Pentacles, which is to me odd. I suppose it was meant to be a stone circle, but it to me looks like more like a forest of stones, as if they're all just. I'd never seen this before. For instance, this card. I like it. It's the Five of Stones. That's so Five of Pentacles, and this. The Four of Stones. Look at that Bambi. I love that. I love this card. It's absolutely cute. I like this too. This I do not like. I just don't know. Proportions are not right either. I suppose the artist wanted to use the foreshortening and a painting drawing technique. Like if you see my arm like this, right? My hand is completely, well, it's huge. Look at the compare the size of my head and my hand. That's foreshortening. If you have to paint that as well, and sometimes it just completely goes wrong. I know, been there myself. I also paint. Let's see. This I like completely, totally love it. The Nine of Vessels, the Nine of Cups. I like it. Well, this is one card that I said that in default tarot is not really positive. It's the Five of Cups. In default tarot, this is where someone is basically mourning with a cape and looking down and looking at what's spilled over, 2 cups or 3 cups, you know, spilled over, and this is just celebration. Five of Cups, completely different. So sometimes it can be completely different. Then let's see quickly. I don't really like this either. This is one of the reasons why I hesitated about getting this deck. I even don't like touching it there. It's like, ugh. I don't like these eels and snakes and yuck and ugh. I really don't. And what I mentioned earlier as well, the King of Vessels, the King of Cups, he's a heron. Well, he doesn't look all that loving and warm and charming, and he's more like a chagrin old geezer or something. I don't know. But yeah, I do love it. I really do love it. Let's see, because there's a few more cards I want to show you. Kingfisher, I find it a shame that they didn't go for brighter colours. They are brighter than that, I know, because I painted one myself last year. And then I studied the bird thoroughly, extensively, looked at pictures and photographs, etc, etc. The colours are much brighter. And okay, the colours in this deck are quite subdued, but for the Kingfisher, why not go for the natural colours? It could have been a bit more brighter. And this one I also do not like at all. It's the king of, what I call it, bows, is the wands, king of wands. Ada. Well, which one is the king, you know? There's an entire coil of snakes there. Well, like I just said, I don't like snakes and eels and stuff like that. Yeah. And yeah, but that's a personal thing. Okay, I have that with animals. I love animals. That's not a problem. But if they have to represent the king of wands and cups, etc., it's yeah. And this I really, really like. It's the nine of pentacles, I think. No, swords. Sorry, nine of swords. I like that. It's as if she's playing a violin and then shooting off all these arrows. I like that. And this too. This really, really, I don't know, moves me. The eight of swords, arrows. Let's see if there's another one that I really want to show. Gosh, it's getting warm. I gotta go outdoors. I think it's over 20 degrees or something. Yeah, this one. I like this one. The explanation, by the way, this is the devil card normally in Default Tarot. It's called Guardian in this tarot deck. The journey that I spoke of, that they were talking about in the book, through the Wildwood, based on that Wheel of the Year that I showed you, the explanation of this card is like, wow, yes, wow, there is your depth. It's just wow. I love that. The moon, I like this card, moon on water. Also the explanation of this is quite interesting in the journey, right? I haven't read the interpretation of the card yet. But if you look at this, that's interesting. There's the reflection. Moon is a reflection. Moonlight is a reflection in itself. The moon doesn't have light, it's just reflecting sunlight. But the reflection in the water, it's not a circle. So it's like seeing things not the way they are or something. You know, it's not a circle at all. And that's not how the moon is reflected in water. It's probably a reason why they did that. Like I said, I haven't read the interpretations yet. This one is also peculiar because it's supposed 12. What is 12? I can't remember now. Hangman? Yeah, it's supposed to be the hangman. But actually, what it said is that they interpreted the hanged man in the blasted oak with the tower. So this is peculiar. I'll read about that later on in the book, but I like it. I like it. So far I'm impressed. I haven't even done a reading or anything with it yet. Considering the time I've already spent talking, I suppose I better not do that anymore either, as I have to shuffle them. I will do a reading with these cards, with this deck, real soon, and then you can find it on my YouTube channel, if you're interested in that. And for now, I just have to end it, I think, but you're probably fed up with it and want to do something else. 39 minutes, oh my god. Let's see what came out. Ecstasy, reunion, morning, let go, right. Well, ecstasy, 3 cards came out. This is the cups card, 5 of cups basically, but this is ecstasy. So, yeah, happy, dance, celebrate, that's how I feel. Weather is nice, it's great. 6 of vessels is another cups card. Of course, that's all vessels, so don't pay too much heed to it. I haven't properly shuffled the deck, right? 6 of vessels, 6 of cups. I like that. It's almost like crystal singing bowls in the water. floating in the water. And we have this about reunion, and then we have the Seven of Vessels, mourning, so letting go of things, and yeah, don't pay too much heed to it because it will roll 5, 6, 7 of Cups. I haven't shuffled the deck. If it doesn't mean something to you, well, cool. I'm wishing you a wonderful day wherever you are, whenever you are, what time zone you're in, right? And I'll be back really quite soon. I hope you enjoyed it. It was a lot of information. I just like to talk to you a little bit about my going-ons in life and my Shaymin Drum. I hope you like that as well. Let me know, and bye-bye.